When you saw Savannah's video today, the verbiage, the majorly upped reward, what do you think the tactic was there, strategy behind the scene from the FBI with the Guthrie family?
Yeah, well, I'll first start with the earliest messages, those messages around the time when the ransom notes were coming out and we thought we were dealing with a kidnapping for ransom. Those were very structured by the FBI, working in close conjunction with the family. Then you saw one from Savannah about a week ago or so that was more emotional, more unscripted, asking just for pleas for tips and the help. And that's what you see now is more of that unstructured, heart-wrenching, very emotional, and speaking more from the heart. What's happening behind the scenes is that the FBI, and there's investigators with the FBI, there are victim specialists, and then there used to be negotiators, and they're probably still involved, but I don't think that kidnapping for ransom is a legitimate lead anymore. So you have investigators and victim specialists working closely with the family. Investigators are working as hard as they can to identify leads, drum up tips, try to nail down who did this, and then ultimately arrest, prosecute, find Nancy. What victim specialists are doing is they're focusing on the family, and they really do have the best interest of the family at heart here, because this is an incredibly difficult time for the family. Like, they're dealing with unknown grief, right? There's no resolution, no end in sight. It's a really traumatic way to grieve because you just don't feel like you have any answers and you almost feel helpless. So at this point, those victim specialists are talking with the family, and the family wants to act. They want to do something to help the case. This $1 million family side of the reward is their act to help boost up the number of tips, and not just the number, but the quality of tips as well, that helps the investigation. So it's kind of part of the grieving process for the family, but also they're working in conjunction with investigators and boosting the quality of tips.
We're on day 24, seeing that this is a video going out today. This reward is now at where it's at, and they're pleading for people to come forward. Does that mean that the FBI and the sheriff's department are at square one, that they just don't know at all who did this?
Yeah. Well, I'd say the answer is no. They're not at square one. They probably don't know who did this, though, either. Like, I think those both can be accurate at the same time. They have a lot of avenues that are going down. Now, we all see weeks go by and no resolution, and we think that means a cold case, and that's really far from it. Cold case isn't really identified by time that passes. It's more identified by the lack of viable leads that an investigator has. In this case, there's no lack of leads. There had 18,000 to 20,000, I think, were reported at one point, and probably way more than that. And then the thousands of leads that the FBI and the sheriff's office generated on their own. So there are plenty of leads to go down. That includes DNA, it includes technical information, it includes following up on every item you saw in the surveillance video, the broader canvassing they're doing, all of that. So it's not a cold case, but they probably aren't focused on an avenue either. So it's not, I mean, it's good that they're putting up the family reward. It's going to boost tips. And Savannah's right in that message. Somebody out there knows something. Somebody doesn't want to report their information to law enforcement. This $1 million, it's 10 times bigger reward now, may convince them to come forward, even with information that you might think is small or insignificant. A lot of times it's that information that breaks the case. So it is a great tactical and strategic move by investigators, but it does show that they probably aren't focused on an avenue or an area, which means unless there's another big break in the case soon, this might take more time.
And that was going to be my next question. Is it possible that the strategy with Savannah's video was speaking to a person or a group of people that the FBI or sheriff's deputies may have zeroed in on to try to get them to come forward? Or do you think that they don't know a specific group and this is a broader plea?
So I would lean to the latter. I would lean to this is a broader plea. Usually when you're upping the reward and putting it out there to the public, you're not really focused on a specific area. I'm sure there are a lot of areas that they are interested in. They're going down, but they haven't really narrowed it to one group or type of individual per se, or a focused group. So they put this broader reward out there just to try to generate quality tips that are coming in, volume and quality, but really you want quality. It's if you had a certain individual in mind or a certain group in mind, there are other ways to try to go after that group to get somebody within there to flip that doesn't involve a broad plea to the public and a 10-time greater reward to the entire public. You can do a lot more focused action. At least as an investigator, that's what we would have done, and I'm sure they would be doing that here if they were going down a specific path.
How often have you seen a reward that's 10 times greater than it was before work in terms of having people come forward for a high-profile case?
So it absolutely works. Raising a reward works. Money does talk, unfortunately. And when you're dealing with people who engage in criminal activity like this, it's why they're doing the criminal activity. I mean, usually it's financially motivated. There are times it's not, but for the most times it is. And if this was a robbery gone bad or a burglary gone bad, there is a financial motivation there. They're playing on somebody tight-knit within the group breaking and coming forward and trying to look for that money. But I think more likely they're looking for somebody on the ancillary, somebody a little bit outside the group that somebody from the group bragged to something about or showed them items that they've used in the past or made just some suspicious mention that had somebody, maybe a family member or friend, questioning, hey, maybe you were involved. That's probably who they're targeting. It's like that group on the peripheral edges of the inner circle of that criminal organization. If there is a criminal organization here, that's who they're targeting.
Interesting. Okay. There's also some discrepancy about the DNA that was found inside Nancy's home. We had sources at CBS confirm that this DNA in her home may be, quote, low level, possibly not suitable for the federal databases or the private laboratories. I know from my experience in the DNA world that there are some companies that can do a lot with very little DNA, degraded DNA, a very small amount of it, but that's also kind of a precious cargo because you only have so many times you can put that through the system to try to get that match. What do you believe is at stake with the home DNA, whether it's low level or not? Is there still a possible lead to be drawn from that?
There's always a possible lead to be drawn from it. And it's taking time because labs are, like you said, taking their time and trying to be strategic. They don't want to destroy evidence, lose the best opportunity they have. So they're trying to be strategic about it. Plus, if there is evidence at different labs, that's communication and coordination and it has to work together. So yes, there's a possibility, but you're exactly right with the DNA. There are high quality DNA, blood, it's bodily fluids, blood, semen, saliva, sweat. Like that's what you're going to get high quality DNA from. From the surveillance images, if this individual was the only individual inside the house, or if there were others involved, they were all dressed similarly, they're not going to leave that unless they get cut or hurt or they do something not smart inside the house. So they're not going to leave that high quality DNA. What they might leave is touch DNA or very fragmented DNA that you're talking about. And that can come just by being in a room. It can come by touching the handle of something or maybe part of your skin grazing the handle of something. What that usually entails is when you collect that DNA, there are multiple different persons' DNAs on there. So it's mixed DNA profile that has to be separated. And then you really don't have high quality. CODIS and certain systems require a certain quality in order to even input them into the system. So there's a lot of hurdles they have to clear. Most ideally, what DNA inside there and that touch DNA is going to be used for, it would be exclusionary or inclusionary evidence once you identify a suspect. So let's say they identify a suspect through another means, whether it's a tip that's come in or cell phone evidence or whatever it happens to be, or they purchase the backpack in the area. Then they get a search warrant to collect that individual's DNA, and then they compare it to the small quantities of DNA that you have inside that house. If one matches, that individual, or if it's touch DNA, it's a little removed, right? It's not blood dripping, so they're not directly tied to the house, but they've contacted somebody who's been in that house. They have some connection to being in that house, and they're gonna have to disprove that. So that's really where this will likely come into play. Might not lead them to a suspect initially, but it'll help corroborate or exclude a subject down the road.
So with everything we've learned today, with Savannah's video, the up reward, where this DNA may stand, where do you think that leaves these original ransom notes? I mean, those people, that person was allegedly demanding a certain money, and here the Guthrie family is now offering $1 million. Does that help legitimize the ransom notes, or make them not credible, that they aren't part of this at all? Because we haven't learned more on that.
Yeah, as an investigator, you got to stay objective, and you're going to keep leads open as long as you possibly can, because the worst thing you can do is close your eyes or put blinders onto a lead and not follow it down. So I'm sure the FBI is not discounting that until they've made the definitive conclusion they should discount it. I would say early on, those ransom notes and the subsequent notes that you got about an individual knowing information but not wanting to report it directly to the FBI, they wanted to report it to somebody else and then get money. All of those seemed fraudulent from the start. There were so many indicators of that. The length of time it took to ask for it, the lack of proof of life, the no open line of communication directly with the family, the fact that it went to a media company, all of those are indicators that this is probably not legitimate, but you can't discount it. So they went down the road of investigating it. Now you're getting to a time that so much time has passed. Any kidnapping for ransom motive where they're holding an 84-year-old victim this long who's already injured and in a fragile state, it makes zero sense. That's not the way any kidnapping organization or individual would operate. So it leads me to believe that they were fraudulent from the start.
I know you said that it may take some time to get things back, especially DNA, especially if it's mixed. But from day 24, where we are now, I think people want immediate resolution. They want closure. I mean, you see the video of Savannah. It is emotional. It's hard to watch, and it feels like we haven't had a lot of answers. Just little tidbits of information as we move along. But again, nobody arrested, no charges. We don't know where Nancy is. Do you think that we're looking at quite a bit more time before any of those questions are answered?
There is no indication it's going to end soon. I mean, they're upping the reward, asking for more tips. It doesn't seem like they've focused yet. Doesn't mean the case is cold or stopped in any way. It just means they need more information. So we all want this to resolve quick. We all want to find Nancy. You heard Savannah talk about blowing on the embers of hope. Like, that's a great way to describe it. It's at embers at this point. It'd be miraculous if we'd find Nancy safe, but the family's still holding out hope and investigators are trying. At this point, I think it might take some time. I know people don't want to hear that, but I would encourage people at this point in the case, now that so much time has passed, it's not really in time. It's really quality of the information the investigators are getting, the quality of information the public has. Even if you know something and you think it's small, calling law enforcement, because that could be the puzzle piece that puts it all together. That's what we have to do right now, because cases like this, kidnapping cases, especially child kidnapping cases, or any individual that's really innocent or fragile or needs support, it affects not that individual, but entire families, entire communities. It affects all of us. And this case is no different. It's gotten so much notoriety. It's only expanded that level of compassion that people feel for Nancy and her family.
Yeah. Lance, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.